What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Rawstocks. I'm Rustic. Today we're going to look at the Tesla chart, give some analysis, look at where price came from, where price is today, and where price is likely to head tomorrow. If you caught that face ripping rally we had today, congratulations. If you caught it from yesterday's rejection, even better. We had some nice movement to the upside. We're going to go ahead and take a look, dive into the charts, and see what has been going on. So just a reminder, if you're looking for me during trading hours, I can be found hanging out in the Traders Helping Traders Discord. The link's in the description below, as well as some other links to my socials and my merch shop. So go ahead and take a look at those. I'd appreciate it if you check it out, and always appreciate the support. So let's look at today's chart. I'm going to try to make it a little bit quicker than the last couple of days, but we did have some nice price movement, so I really want to highlight and see what's going on. So when we look at the chart, right, we've been talking about this 4-hour order block that's to the downside. Yesterday we tried to hit it. The wick closed above it. We didn't hit that order block, so it's still in play as a pool of liquidity, right? We know orders are sitting in this 4-hour order block, but we haven't got there yet. The yesterday's action, we saw that nice rejection. We saw just a rally, just kind of basically straight up. And today, continue that rally to the upside. Right? And what we had been talking about previously is that we had a falling wedge that was a little bit tighter like this. Okay, I'm going to move it because, well, it started off like this from yesterday. Right? If you look at the wick, it was a tight falling wedge. We said we could be trading down lower into that falling wedge. Now that wedge has expanded, and we'll be looking at that as well. The wedge is still in play. This is not a channel yet. If we expand a little bit more to the upside, it becomes a falling channel. But we're still looking at that. Okay, I also have another trend line here I'm going to show you as we look at the lower time frame charts and see what that looks like. A couple things I want to reference that weren't on the charts yesterday but are now is we have a couple 1 minute unbalanced price ranges that were laid in yesterday and today's price action that eventually will want to come and try to balance out. Okay, but we still have all those upside targets. We have the 1 minute unbalanced price range to the upside at 251, 252, right? We have the point of control from Friday's volume up here at 254.50 basically. And we have some more unbalanced price ranges to the upside, as well as this bearish fair value gap. So are we heading there? We quite possibly could. We have delivery numbers coming out on Sunday. So do we want to rally some more tomorrow, right? Could we expect a little pullback if that was the case into next week? Possibly, and then continue to the upside into this fair value gap, balancing some of these unbalanced price ranges. Totally possible, okay? But what we also have is we also have a liquidity pool that's sitting in this wick. We know that sellers have been short here, okay? Came down, bounced, rejected, came down, test this level, and ultimately bounced up. So in this wick holds liquidity. We're going to mark it blue. You guys know who listen and follow me that blue is our liquidity pools. So what are we doing today? Ultimately, we're just running a test on this liquidity, right? Do orders want to be filled as we head up into this candle, into this wick, right? With these candles on the daily, do we head up into that and take all that liquidity tomorrow? Possibly. Could we sell off from there? Entirely possible, right? So is this a move just like this one, right? This was at a top where it was a draw on liquidity to sell off, but now we're in the middle of a wave, right? We were at the top of a wave structure here, had a wick, draw on liquidity, sold off. Now we're in the middle of a wave structure. So are we drawing on liquidity here for a move further to the downside to hit this 4-hour order block? That's possible, right? Could we still see tomorrow just be an up day as we draw more on this liquidity? Similar to this, we had 3 up days as we drew, right? Here we have one good up day into the liquidity. We took a little bit of it here, but it went short, so we're drawing on it now. Could we have one more up day, draw on that liquidity, fully take it, so those orders get filled where we want to see price continue to the downside? That would be the bearish play, right? It would look something like this, and we would see that happen, and we'd be looking for a rejection near or around the top of this wick to then continue short. Does that happen tomorrow? Does that happen on Monday after the delivery numbers? Do we stop short just right here, just a little bit above, right? And then those numbers come out on Sunday and we head back down. Entirely possible, right? The chart's a little bit contradictory because we also have a large down wick here. So I want you guys to be very clear that right now we have two different pools of liquidity, so we don't know what the move is yet. What we do know is we had this face rip and rally for the last 2 days. Could just be squeezing some shorts out, right? Again, could be a draw on liquidity, but we also have this liquidity pool down here. And I'd really like to see if we want a continued move to take out all of this into this order block, right? Liquidity in this wick, right? Higher with the gap closes, gap open, gap closes, right? If we want to head there, I really want to see this liquidity here that's resting in this giant wick. I want to see us come back and try to take it and then head further to the upside. So that's what I'd be really looking for if we were looking for a really strong trend reversal and change to head back up, right? We're inside of a channel right now. As you zoom out, we have this giant channel. We got the middle of the channel here, right? And this is that move from this entire year as we've been heading up, right? And we haven't come back to test the channel yet, the channel support. So do we come back and test that, right? Does it take a week? Does it take 2 weeks into October? It's certainly possible, right? We could come up, we could come down, we could come back up, we could chop around, we could come back down and try to test that channel before we head higher, ultimately even higher than that. So things that we're watching, right? The trend lines, the order blocks, the liquidity pools, right? Are we making the move up first to make the move down? Are we making the move down to make the move up? Things we're going to be watching as price continues to give us the answers. So let's drop down into the 1 hour chart. I'm going to skip the 4 hour because I've shown you guys in previous videos where the 4 hour order block came from. So we'll look at the 1 hour. You get a little bit better look at that trend line. It's not perfect, again, because that trend line was drawn on a 1 minute chart. But let's expand this and look a little bit further. Okay, so what we do have is we also have the potential beginning of a inverted head and shoulders. And I want to show you guys that because this could be a pattern that plays out, and this would be a pattern that would take us much higher. But I want to look at it because if we start here and we look at our left shoulder, okay, and I'm just going to use these candle bodies instead of wicks because that's kind of where price is right now. We're going to look at our head. We're going to come back up, and it's textbook, right? It's nearly horizontal neckline. That's what we want to see. And if that was the case, we would want to see price come back down here, set a right shoulder, okay, and that would be what? In our liquidity pool. So that could be that draw on liquidity to the upside, right? And then see us trade back up, potentially much, much higher, right? So I'll stretch it out to there. I've shown you guys before how to measure the potential move of a inverted or standard head and shoulders. This one's inverted, okay? So we're going to go up here. We're going to measure head to neckline. We're going to look for eventual breakout of the neckline. And where are we going to target? We're going to target 260, okay? Balancing these price ranges. Could potentially even head up higher, but that would be the target if we were looking at this inverted head and shoulders fully playing out. Okay, it's something that we're watching. We can't anticipate it's going to happen yet. Could we just run higher? Totally takes that head and shoulders off the table. But right now, the way this structure is starting to look, that if we were to trade back down, tomorrow, trade back down, maybe even into potentially Monday, but right here would be where Friday's price action ends, right? So could we see this draw down 238? That's one of my targets, right? Test this level, which we know it held here. We overshot it, but then during Wednesday, traded back up through it. So this level technically held based on daily candle body close. Right, so do we trade down tomorrow, rip it in the other direction for that inverted head and shoulders to play out? Okay, I'm going to take the measurement and the indicator off as far as the head and shoulders goes, but we do need to be watching for that to play out. Now, if the move, again, heads up higher, inverted head and shoulders is off the table at that point. Other things we're looking for is that we have this fair value gap down here, which would be a confluence, that we have this level and this fair value gap and the potential for the inverted head and shoulders to come down into this level. Be looking at consequent encroachment, which happens to fall right at this level again. So a lot of confluence as to why price might come down there. So we'll be watching this area of 238 very closely, okay? One of my price targets for the downside. And if we did that, right, and rejected inverted head and shoulders, if we came down and did not reject, okay, 4 hour order block down below. That was my target on some of my shorts this week. We never hit it. Right now, many of you know I'm under on that position, but I also have contracts for next week as well. So looking for potential continuation to the downside. A lot of those contracts I took today up here near the top. Was looking for a bigger sell-off into close, didn't get it. So we'll again see what price wants to do tomorrow. But for that inverted head and shoulders to play out, we're looking for price to drop tomorrow down to 238, 239 area, right? So let's drop down into the 15-minute chart and see if there's any additional answers on the 15-minute chart. Okay, we'll blow it up a little bit more, look at it a little bit closely. Okay, we have bearish fair value gaps up here. I'm going to highlight the biggest one that is probably of the most importance because there's some confluence in that order as well. And we're going to stretch it out so you guys can see it better. Okay, but we have a break of structure right here. We have a 1 minute unbalanced price range. We have the 15-minute unbalanced price range. We have the bearish fair value gap, which we know is reverse magnetic, so it sends it away from, right, and then eventually draws price back into it. So could we get that inverted head and shoulders play to the downside, pull price back up into that bearish fair value gap, right? That could be definitely a possibility. Again, we could continue to head higher, draw on liquidity, come up and touch this and reject again. That's also a possibility. Here you get the better look at the trend line, a little bit more accurate, bottom, touching wicks here. Tried to test here. I got a little liquidity box there from the 1 minute, and I'll show you what price did today. And we called it out live and said we're looking for this to be validated or invalidated. It got validated as a liquidity pool, didn't trade through it. Price ripped up in the other direction immediately after. So that was near open today, I believe. Yeah, kind of in the opening hours. Let's see, 9:30 to 10:15 is when we traded down into it. So that first 45 minutes of trading really gave us that answer to that, where you could have gone long. I continued to scale down or average into some of my short positions to try to recover. I was able to close some on this move from here down to here. Able to mitigate some of that loss and recover from it. Then as we went up, I continued to scale in. Some of you guys caught that in the live callouts. And again, congratulations if you grabbed this 15-minute fair value gap, traded back to it, ran off of it. So if you are learning the smart money concepts and you were watching the 15-minute chart, that would have been an awesome entry to grab and run long and see where we go. Again, liquidity, we also have 15-minute. If I take off this daily liquidity pool, you can see we had a 15-minute order block that we traded up to and we continued to test. So there's orders sitting in here, right? We know that there's probably either sell orders for people who are long or there are short orders for people who want to go short. So trade it up to it, see if we trade up to it or in it. Right now, after hours, we're inside that order block, but certainly could see rejection here and continued downside, right? If we take it out, we're heading up to this bearish fair value gap in the 1 minute unbalanced price range, right? Still looking at, I'll extend it out here. We looked at it on the daily, but we still have this wedge. It's expanding. It's definitely not as tight as it was, but could we continue to see rejection, right? If we open below it, break this trend line here, can we see it come back down, to test this bottom part of the wedge? We certainly could. So dropping down to the 5-minute chart, okay, see if there's any additional answers. A little bit better look. You can see here, I'll expand it up and then I'll show you on the 1-minute chart, but we had this giant wick here where it held liquidity, right? Price came back down for the liquidity in this wick, rejected, left another wick here with more liquidity in it, right? So do we come back down, test that liquidity, right? It's right in that 238, right where we're talking about that potential inverted head and shoulders, right shoulder coming down into this liquidity, right? Is there longs that want to go long again? Right there, very likely. So could we come back down there, reject back up, head up, right? We also have the 5-minute order block that we didn't get to today. So would we come back down, grab more liquidity there, head back up into this order block where we know there's orders for shorts or closing out for longs, possibly closing it out, heading again to that bearish fair value gap. Okay, now I will show you. Also want to mention again these fair value gaps. You really want to watch them because again, price runs off, price comes back down. Look at this 5-minute fair value gap. Price traded right down to it twice. Okay, if you extend this out, price traded down to it. I had it marked off on my charts when I was calling out live shots. I said, look at this, see if we invalidate it, right? And we held it. We held it again. Good sign that you could go long in this fair value gap when it held. And then again, price ran right off of it. So all different ways you can use the Smart Money Tools indicator, looking for entries and exits. Let's drop down now into the 1-minute chart. This is the chart I trade when I'm doing day trading. Okay, and you get a better look at that liquidity right here. Okay, if you drop it down, it was a smaller wick on the 1-minute time frame, and so it gives you even a better point. Again, I said we're going to draw on liquidity. Okay, took buy side right here, ran back down to sell side, took the liquidity, ripped right off of it. Right, you also had a smaller 1-minute fair value gap that we didn't trade back down to. You could start drawing a trend line from here to here, expanding it out. We tested it. We came back down and tested it. Called this one out at the end of the day. I said we're right on trend. And what happened right after? Okay, we lit a little bounce, and then it just ripped up. So trend line, good sometimes for watching and seeing if we just continue to follow the trend. And now you can see where these 1-minute unbalanced price ranges come from. We have this break of structure here that has not been tested yet. Okay, we have this other larger break of structure right here that has not been tested yet. So tomorrow, do we come back down, balance this price range, come back down? We also have, again, more confluence, just even more confluence of what's going on with this potential inverted head and shoulders. Okay, we've showed you on the other time frames, but now all the way down to the 1-minute, we also have liquidity pool. We also have, 238 and some change price level, horizontal price level. We also have order block on the 1-minute time frame. So lots of confluence going on in this area for 238.74, right? Come back down, inverted head and shoulders, rip it back up in the other direction. So that's something that we're really going to be watching closely because on multiple time frames, we have confluence there, okay? And there's a high probability that we're going to want to test this Friday or Monday, right? If we want to head higher, that we could see that play out and then head back up. Okay, again, if we head higher tomorrow, invalidated, and we'd be looking for, some of the upside targets here, and then do we want to come back down later, maybe Monday after the delivery numbers or sometime next week, do we want to come back down and try to take any of this liquidity in this blue area that has been built up on that wick on that daily channel, have it taken, run higher, or just run right through it because we already went higher, so we might be heading even lower at that point. We have that wedge, right? But if we break out, we're expanding this wedge to a potential channel and seeing what happens. Again, that's if we're heading to the upside. Again, watching this 1-minute trend, which has been going on since Wednesday, and it's been respecting, right? We're in kind of a bull flag pattern right here. Okay, I want to show you guys. I'll just mark it in a color, but this is consolidation. This is a bull flag. I'm going to mark it a different color so you guys don't get confused. But, right, we came up, came down, came up. We're flagging, right? Is this a move in the upward direction? Sometimes bull flags fail. We'll come back down, test this range down here. So all things we're looking for. We got upside targets. We got downside targets. I try to bring you guys the most objective opinion that I can. Just because I'm long or short in a position does not mean that there's not targets in either direction. And I want you guys to be prepared that if we start heading to a certain area, what are we targeting, right? Because those are going to be likely areas of support, likely areas of resistance where we're going to see price have a reaction, right? So when we head up, do we reject, right? If we head down, do we bounce, right? So all areas you need to be focusing on. Hopefully you guys are, being able to use this information, throw it on your charts, be able to have a really good understanding of what price is doing and why it's doing it. Again, I always appreciate the support, you guys. Check the description below. There's lots of links, lots of ways to follow me, lots of ways to get in touch with me. And I hope to see you guys on the next episode. Thank you for watching.